Hello, everyone. This is Fahdi, and I want to thank you for joining us again in this fascinating series that we are going through right now, myself and Dr. J. Smith, in terms of refuting the so called scientific miracles of the Quran. We've done quite a few of those already, and today we are going to focus on yet another one. This time, we're going to talk about inheritance and.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm gonna start laughing. I mean, Alpha D, you the dumbest ever. I thought you know something. I mean, if you cannot add up fractions, if you do not know what if means, if you can't figure out what a scenario case is, that you're a dummy. You here pretending to know the Quran. You here pretending to know, I mean, the minimum, the basics. How to add up 1/3 and 1/6 or 1/4. You cannot add them up. 1/3 plus 1/4 is not 2/4. I don't know. I don't know where you got that from. You really cannot calculate. Now they here trying to debunk the scientific miracle, and this is not a scientific miracle at all. This is just simple logic. The scientific miracles, the mathematical miracles are in the Quran. I put a video link in your video of a scientific miracle of number 19. Go ahead and debunk it. Go ahead and debunk it. You're here trying to debunk something that is literally, I mean, a kid can figure it out, and you cannot figure it out. And both you and Jay Smith. That's ridiculous. So a scientific miracle is you taking all the numbers in the Quran, add them up, 30 numbers. You add them up without repetition. Every number, every time it is quoted once in the Quran, you take it one time. It's a miracle. It's a multiple of 19, and you take them all with repetition. Still a multiple of 19. Go to the every chapter. Take it. Chapter number 1. Write down 1, followed with by how many verses in chapter 1? 7 verses. 1 followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then you go to chapter number 2. You write down 2. You already got eight number digits, right? 1 plus 1 to 7. Then you write down 2. It's a 9-digit number. Now we're in the billions already about it, you know? And followed by 1 to 286. That's a lot of digits right there. Followed by 3, because 286 are the number of verses in chapter number 2. You do that all the way to chapter 114. You write down 114. How many verses? Is 6, followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a 12,692 digit number. 12,000. 10 digits, that's a billion. Now we're talking about 12,000 digits. 12,692. It's a multiple of 19. I got you a simple challenge right there. It's about Moses and Aaron. It's about Noah in the Quran. Go ahead and debunk it. Now, let's listen to them and see what he's talking about. That's ridiculous.
Mathematical calculations when it comes to that. And with that says, Dr. J. Smith, tell our audience what's the big deal about inheritance and how to calculate them?
Well, it has to do with mathematics. We've looked at 2 scientific proofs already, supposedly that were scientific. Now we're going to look at mathematics because you've got the same problem. And we're looking at chapter 4 or Surah 4, and we're looking at verse 11 and 12, which are very long verses, and it goes through all the the mathematical reference goes on who gets what when someone dies. So let's look at the slide here, and let's look at case number 1 from chapter 4, verse 11 and 12. When a man dies, according to the first case study, the widow gets 1/8.
That's right.
He leaves a wife behind. She gets 1/8. If he has 3 daughters, which is the case of my brother-in-law, if he were to die, my brother-in-law did die, then the 3 daughters get 2/3, and when he died, his parents were still living. So the widow, my sister, got a third. The three daughters would get 2/3. And then the two parents who were still living would get another third. You total that up.
Where is that 1/3 coming from?
1 1/8. So that's 112.5%.
That's a lie right there. They can't even add up. Now, this is 4 different case scenarios that they're putting together. And they still cannot add up 1/8 plus 1/3 plus 2/3 plus, they still cannot add them up. That's ridiculous. They still cannot add up things. Let's listen. I will show you the verses, Jay. You are a dummy.
That's a good investment, actually.
No, I wouldn't want an investment like that because it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So that was with my brother-in-law when he died. I just did this together, and we had done a debate there at Speaker's Corner, and I brought this up at that time. More recently, I decided, well, what would happen if I died? And of course, I wanted to find out what would go on because when I died, I still had my wife. My wife would be alive, and I have 2 sisters. So I went back to chapter 4, verse 11 and 12, and that's case number 2. This is my case. If I died and my mother was still living, then she would get a third.
That's
now,
a lie.
My wife would get a third, and my
That's
2 sisters
lie.
would get 2/3.
And we're still going
That's
over.
a lie.
4/3 of 100.
That's another lie. God is talking about, we'll see it. If you die and you have no sisters or brothers, that's when your mother got 1/3. You leave nothing. Absolutely nothing. No wife, no sister, no brother. That's when your mama got. But if you got sisters and brothers, your mom go down to 1/6. You're a liar. You are just a liar. Now you're still taking it as 1/3 for your wife, for your mother, 1/3 for your wife. That's another lie. We see. This is ridiculous.
Which is
Why?
33%.
That's right.
Whoever wrote the Quran didn't know their mathematics very well.
No, you don't know your mathematics. You a cheater, you a liar.
There is no scientific miracles here?
This is not a scientific miracle.
I mean, it seemed like the money is growing, my friend.
And I would love to know who they were thinking of because I just used my family in both these instances with my...
So clearly, those guys are liars, and we'll see it now. We'll go see it. But let this dummy, Fahdi, conclude first.
sister whose husband died, and myself if I were to die and my mother was still living. So you can see it gets almost humorous if you keep going on this, and that's why be careful of what you claim. Muslims, you need to be careful of what you claim.
Absolutely.
Don't claim this is a miracle. This is not a miracle. This is an error.
And this
is
like
logic.
Earlier, in the beginning of this series, this is a very simple one. If you want to add it to the list of scientific miracles, we have just finished the job. We have just refuted it. Mathematically speaking, anyone who knows how to calculate will tell you there is a problem. I mean, we did it just talking. We knew it's over already without even using a calculator. So, unfortunately, I don't know why my Muslim friends tend.
Let's go see those verses, sisters and brothers. And all of you Christian liars, we're going to see those. I show you that it's going to be leftovers for those who was there, for the orphans, for the needies. I will show you that these guys are liars. Every time there is about a third, at least, that is left for people that was present, that are far related people that were present, or some among them who are poor, give them some, even though they were not present, or the poor people that were present, other than family members, not close family members, but far away family members, third cousins, stuff like that. Even those, God, Allah is saying, give him something. You cannot take it all. Let's go visit the verses and debunk those liars. Subhanallah. Those people are just lying. Oh my God. All right. Here we are. That's chapter 4, verse 11. Allah instruct concerning your children. For the male what is equal to the share of two females. If, now, those dummies do not know what if means. If there are only daughters, if the man dies and he only leaves daughters behind him, two or more, for them, for those daughters, is 2/3. You divide it by by 3, and you give him the 2 parts. That's for the daughters. 2/3. And if there's only one daughter, she got half. If he got 2 daughters or more, they got 2/3. They got themselves 2/3 to share equally in between them. If he only leaves one daughter behind, she got half. You leave 1 million, you got 2 daughters or more, they got 2/3. 666,000. That's for them. If you only leave one daughter, she got 500,000. That's for her. You got it? If only one, it's half for her. And for one's parent, to each of them is 1/6. For each of the parents is 1/6 if he leaves children. So if you leave children, still in the same case, 1 million, your parents, your children, like if it's only daughters, they got 2/3 and your parents got 1/6. And then the rest of it, we'll see, is for who? For the needies and the poor. Let's go. But if he had no children and the parents inherit from him, then for his mother is 1/3. If you have no kids, your mother got 1/3. And if he had brothers and sisters, then your mother got 1/6. Jay, liar. Your mother got 1/6, not 1/3. Stop lying. After any bequest he may have lived, if he had a will, you got to fulfill the will. But the will cannot go over this. If you have debts, they need to be paid. You got a will, you wanted him to give $10,000 to a good friend of yours, stuff like that. Yes, that's going to be executed first. They're going to execute the will without violating the rights of the kids. Because the kids' inheritance is about mother and daughters and kids. That's the first thing about inheritance. First for your kids, and you inheriting from your parents, and your kids inheriting from you. That's how it should go. Normally, your parents should be dying before you do. And normally, you should be dying before your kids do. But accident happens. But everything is being taken care of. Now, let's say he said, so it's 1/6, not 1/3. Your parents or your children, you know not which of them are nearest to you in benefits. You don't. Now let's go to chapter 2, verse 12. And for you, this is the case if your wife dies. And for you is half of what your wife leaves if she had no children. If your wife have no children, you taking only half. The rest of it is for other people, brother. But if they have a child, if your wife have kids, for you is 1/4. After anything, any will that she wrote, and any debt is paid. And for the wife, as for the wife, if you die now, and your wife got 1/4, if you have no children, 1/4, not 1/3. Stop lying, Jay. And for the wives, right here, Jay, stop lying. As for the wife is 1/4 if you leave no child, Jay. But if you leave a child, then for them is an eighth, 1/8. If you leave children, your wife only get 1/8. J, liar. I don't know where to go. After any request may have been done and every debt is paid. If a man or a woman leaves neither ascendants nor descendants, but has a brother or sister, then for each of them is 1/6. J. If you leave no kids whatsoever, your brothers and sisters, they got 1/6. But if they are more than 2, they share 1/3. More than 2. 1 or 2 is 1/6. If they 2 or more, more than 2, 3 or more, they got 1/3. Sisters and brothers, stop lying. And after all the wishes, if you had a will, it got to be fulfilled. And if you had a debt, it got to be paid first. As long as there is no detriment. As long as there is no detriment. This is an ordinance from Allah. Now, I'll show you over here. Consuming the blazing fire. Let's see. Yes. That's here. That's verse 8. And when relatives and orphans and the needy are present at the time of the division, at the time of when they sharing, when they dividing the inheritance, then provide for them out of what the states and speak to them word. Provide, give them some of this. Now that's the leftovers. Allah is taking care of everybody if somebody dies. So you're a liar. So if you died, you got 2 daughters. No, you have no daughters. You said you got two sisters. They got 1/6, J, right here. 12. Right here, J. Leave no children, but you leave, what is it? 1/4. If you have children, yes. And for the wives is, yes. Your wife will take 1/4 if you have no child, but children. You have no children, it's 1/4 for your wife. You understand? And since you have no nothing, now your brother and your sister got 1/6. 1/6, Jay. Stop lying. And your mama is in this first case scenario, she got 2 1/6. So stop lying. Stop lying, Jay. You're adding up 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 in different case scenarios. Fahdi, stop lying. For what? I mean, for what purpose? Are you serious? Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullah. I just wanted to debunk those liars. They cannot add up things. 1/3 plus 1/4 is not 2/3, Jay. You cannot add third and fourth, or third and sixth, or third and eighth. You cannot do that. 1/3 plus 1/4, you gotta times is gonna be 7/12, Jay. 7/12. 1/3 and 1/4 are 7/12. You don't understand, Jay. You're a dummy. Peace be upon all of you. Fahdi, you really deceived. You came here acting like you got knowledge, and you here being like a dummy. That's ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense that you cannot even add up fractions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Oh my God.